What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Fight. So today I just want to jump in and kind of give you guys, I know, it's the Love Thunder, we're still in July and it's the Love and Thunder update. I know we've had Iceman and Storm roll into the game with their summer days kind of uniforms, but to be honest with you, they're a whole lot lackluster in my opinion. And to be 100% honest, they're uniforms that I would legitimately tell you to steer clear of as players. Storm, while she gets a T4 and she represents something for a very small grouping of players, I don't feel like she's somebody that offers a whole lot for players. So I would stay away from her. And same thing goes for Iceman. While his uniform kit is a little bit fun, the reason why I'm going to tell players that they should stay away from Iceman specifically is because of the fact that in order to rank this character up, get him tier 3, you already got to do that. But the problem is that his uniform, in order to upgrade this, you're gonna have to get to his bios, and essentially leveling up these bios. It's locked, so you're better off basically using upgrade tickets if you have them, and if you don't, you got to basically purchase them. So it makes that this Summer Days uniform is basically two paywalled characters rolled into one, because the only way for you to get Storm's uniform is essentially to go get the 30 tokens from the shop. I'll show you the way that I did it. Basically, if you go inside the store over here, you essentially have access to the Storm's Atmo Kinesis chest. So buying 2 of these packs right here, you can see that this one has a limit of 10, this one has a limit of 3. I purchased 3 of these. It's basically the same, 2 one way, half a dozen another, and you get those bonus the bonus shards or whatever tokens. That's going to be your easiest way to get them, especially if you plan on taking Storm to tier 4 or even to getting her to level 80, because you're going to have the chance at getting some of her bios. Not that you absolutely need to, but you also have a chance at some of these mega upgrade tickets and some of the Titan component packs and the Essence of Dimension. So they're there, but the truth of the matter is that they didn't do a whole lot on Storm, and that's it's unfortunate. But if you know, like, I won't continue to hide it and say what I'm saying, but if you know, and that's the basic thing of it. I will do videos to specifically address my problems with the Storm uniform, none limited to the fact that her speed isn't there. The power output that she gets just doesn't seem really reflective, and there's not a whole lot done to the uniform. Basically, it was a swappage of skills from here to here. But right now I want to talk about Thor, because I did T4 him inside the video. He's my first T4 character. Truthfully, I do feel like Thor is a little underwhelming in my opinion. And the reason why I say that is mostly because of the way his kit still works. I want to show you guys some of my details on the character first. Kind of important to be able to see. His attack speed is at 130, so he's maxed out. Critical rate, crit damage is maxed out. Ignore defense. His cooldown duration is also maxed out. Dodge is also maxed out. And then one of the important pieces now that you do want to note with Thor is that his lightning resist. He's got 70% lightning resist innate on my character. Now, the reason why the lightning resist is important is because if you go inside Thor's leadership, right? So if you go inside Thor's leadership, so you look at his skills and stuff like that, Thor's leadership was once upon a time just a terrible leadership. You can see right here, increases lightning resist by 50%, right? So at one point, these leaderships were really bad. They're still pretty bad, really, realistically. But if you got Thor's his artifact, maybe not so bad anymore, and there's a reason for that. Now you can see that my mark isn't necessarily the best mark that I have, because it's got justice, which is out of line with Thor's order instinct. At some point I hope that I get a 5 or a 6 artifact for Thor instead of this, but we can look at his right here and you can see that basically he increases the lightning damage by 20% of lightning resist and an additional 0.3% of total instinct. So that's important, that first line, because it's up to 200%. So that means that essentially with his innate 70% lightning resist, that if you were to add on the additional 20% of the light, so an additional 20, like he's getting basically more lightning damage for the lightning resist. So that's essentially gonna rank up his lightning damage by a lot, right? So it's gonna matter in terms of that, which is one of those things where it starts to call into question. Should you put a CTP of Judgment on Thor, or should you leave a CTP of Rage? I've seen a number of players who have used varying different ones where they've used the proc. I'm not so great at procking, so I usually tend to use CTP of Rage, but that's just me, and that's mostly because when I do play on the games, I'm typically playing on blue stacks. Now, I've been having some trouble with my blue stacks lately, which is the reason why you guys haven't gotten any videos. I don't know if it's if it's everybody or if it's just me, but BlueStacks has had some issues since it last updated. Now, so I've got Thor there. You can see that I don't have a ton of Odin's blessings on him. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that's more than probably your average player. I do intend to rotate some of these Odin's blessings out, because while Thor, I don't necessarily view him as the powerhouse that I think that he should be, he is still pretty damn good, and I want to be able to show some of that off. So inside the skills, let's look at breakdown of his new skills and see how these work. Now, there's a couple of rotations inside for the character that you could relatively use, right? And they're kind of important to understand. I've seen the rotation be something as simple as like using 3 into 4 into 5 and then rotate into 5 and 6. So you can go 3, 4, 5, and then when this is up, rotate into 6. Use your 1 skill for when you want to, and then use the 2 to kind of, navigate yourself away from danger. So I've seen that rotation used. There's nothing wrong with that rotation. When you cancel out of the skills is kind of important. So on his 3 skill right here, when he hits the floor is about when you want to cancel that skill. It has a lot of damage that's happening on it. So you can see it's the 3, and then you can see the attacks start happening once the crash happens right there. So now the good thing about this skill is that you can see is decreasing the lightning resistance to targets. And he gets a nice guard on him, right? And then you can roll into 4th. He pretty much throws Mjolnir, and this is the one skill that we basically get from like the movies, like like he actually tosses Mjolnir, comes back to him after he does some attacks, and then he crashes in. There's a lot of damage on that skill, which is really nice. And if you look at the skill over here, it's got a pretty decent overall additional lightning resist on it. It also has his recovery effect, which happens at the beginning of the skill, and it's got a really nice frenzy buff, right? But now here goes the really important part to notice, is that on his 5th skill is where he actually has his damage accumulation. So when he rotates into his 5th skill, it's a very delicate cancel inside of this skill, right? Because essentially when the hammer hits down, that's when it starts to become a little bit harder to cancel out of the skill. So let me show you guys this again. So basically when I go into 5, if I let it smash down, it becomes a little bit difficult to rotate out of that skill. So essentially when you want to cancel the skill, it's not going to let you cancel immediately automatically in the beginning every time, right? I want to actually have it cancel when he strikes it down the same way he does with his 5th skill. So I'm going to hit it, and then when that appears, the outstretched arms or whatever, that's when I've been canceling skill, and I've seemed to notice the best of intentions there, right? So that's basically rotating. So you've got a couple of rotations in here that you can do. Now, I'm going to be honest with you 100%, because I like to keep it real and I like to shout out other creators. I tried out 3, 4, 5. I've even tried out 4, 3, 5. The rotation I found the best for me that worked, especially with the proc, is 5, 3, 4. Now, where did I get that rotation from? The one and only Beast Mode Gaming, the Undying Beast. I saw it on his channel, and he was running through and I noticed that I was having some difficulties realistically during GBR. I wasn't having any difficulties inside World Boss Legend at all with the skill rotation. Thor's such a powerhouse that regardless inside World Boss Legend, you should be able to clap hard on some players with the character, especially at level 80 or T4. But I noticed that the rotation felt a little bit smoother for me running through 5, 3, 4. And what I mean by that is if I run 3 into 4 and then into 5, I seem to be playing with a lot of downtime. see what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of downtime inside the skill window, as opposed to running 5 into 3 and then into 4 and then basically mitigating. Basically, by the time I come back to the skills, my 5 is up at that point. I also noticed biggest damage output chunks when I was off the tier 3, meaning going 5 into 3 and then into 4 and then rotating 7 and then into 6. I would see significant differences inside that overall. So it was really, really nice to me. So I'll run through that rotation for you guys again so that way you can see it. Basically, go 5, let it cross 3 and then into 4 and then basically 5 and 6 when that's up. Otherwise, just let it rotate through here. You can see the damage output there, right? Even on your 4th skill, you're getting a whole lot, as opposed to going 3 into 4 and then into 5, right? So I'm now rolling through and I'm letting that one hit, but it kind of like lingers. So it's really, really weird. So then you can see coming back in here, 5 into 3, into 4, into 7, and then into 6. And I'm getting a whole lot of damage off my character. It seems like, I think there's like Thor's going to be one of those weird characters, I think, where you're playing with him and there's going to probably be a lot of rotations that suit you. But essentially, you're figuring out the rotation yourself. The reason why the damage accumulation here seems really nice for that is because there seems to be more damage that's being accumulated, but I'm not sure. It was the rotation that I found the most comfortable for me. And then utilizing 1 and 2 as basically like, you know, gap fillers, basically. So let's try this out inside World Boss Legend so that way I can show you basically Thor clap some cheeks. So the great thing about him having that lightning resist, like I said, is that you can essentially use Thor for his own leadership. This is going to be important if you are playing game modes like dispatch mission. So I literally had not played dispatch mission quite a bit, and especially on these stages right here, like at stage 12, and I basically used Thor to go through all of the really difficult stages, and I put him as my lead, and this dude was just clapping cheeks, man. Like he was literally just going inside dispatch mission as my lead and just doing work, and I was able to go in and basically, like, you know, sub in characters like poison abilities and do those. So he's really great for clears there. What does this mean? That means he's also great for clears inside story mode content, because you can essentially use him on days where you don't have like a character slotted for those days, and you could use Thor so that way he's your lead, and he seems to clap really easily on a lot of these things. The same is true for Dimension Rifts. And now, unless you have 25% Pierce, you should be running Dimension Rifts. I'm just going to be honest with you about that, right? You should be running Dimension Rifts. And the reason why I say that is because this is how you're basically farming these card crafting cubes. Dimension Celestial Essence might not be something that you necessarily need to run once you have that that additional pierce damage, but you definitely want to be getting that in. So he claps at that as well. And then when we get to World Boss, let's run this through. So we've got World Boss Legend Null for the day. Thank God I don't have the rotating thing. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend with you guys. I think a lot of players are not in the same caliber of, you know, regard as a lot like, you know, Beast Mode, Cynic Alex, where they're trying to push really high levels of World Boss Legend at certain levels, right? Like, to be honest with you, the way I've played the game mostly is that once I hit level 50 inside my ranking over here, that's typically when I start trying to push the higher levels of a stage. But I don't typically run the stage because the rewards are pretty much the same throughout. So it's not, other than you getting the various staging rewards, which are one-time pops. You know, you don't, these are the Conqueror levels. You get the Conqueror levels, you can still hit those. It's not like you're getting more or less, but that's essentially what it is. So let's jump in here at stage 9 right here. That's not a lot. I can tell you right now that there are players like Beast Mode and Cynic Alex who have literally clapped the hell out of, you know, as high as level. I think Moonbro was the highest that I've seen. I think he hit level 76 for World Boss Legend. So if you go over, check out Moonbro's video with Thor, he even has a different rotation than the one I'm running. So let's get into that right there though. So let's start this one up. Now, the good thing about like Thor inside these stages is you don't have to run beta ray build, but because of the way his artifact works now, you could essentially use either beta ray build, you could use Thor himself, you could give him supports in that way. There's a lot more versatility in that. I hope to God that they essentially do this with other characters, because it makes the lightning resist not so bad. It was crazy because when we were doing the first I didn't really notice it as much as I did now. So we're gonna go 5 into 3 and then into 4, and then we'll just kind of let it play out, which is the really cool thing. And then we can roll into 2, and then you can use 2 to try to get out of dodge. But I got caught by the cage. Oh well, I got caught by the cage. So now what we could do is let's try this and go 3 into 4 and then into 5. He's gonna be dead no matter what, but you get to see the versatility of the character, right? So I got hit by the blade twisters, unfortunately. So we'll rotate back over here. Let's see, roll. So when we roll 5 into 3 into 4, that should be enough to get him down to the next stage. So after this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run 3, 4, 5 instead. Damn, I got caught by the blade twisters again. So we're gonna run 3, 4, and then into 5. That should be enough to get him to 7. So he'll literally run into the next one. So you can see what I'm saying. Like, even though I'm getting caught by blade twisters, even like, and this is me just trying to show you rotations more than anything. So we'll roll 3, 4. Didn't even let me go into 4, 5, and then we just hit. He didn't even get a chance. Didn't even get a chance to use the 6 ability. But essentially, that's what you're looking at. It's not really that difficult to play with Thor at T4 because of the fact. So we've unlocked the potential with Storm as well, so we can continue her journey on. And we basically collect our life seeds and so forth. Because I know this was the Blast character, what I think I intend to do is to start working on Tier 4 and Iron Man. I'm actually he's not one of my fan favorite characters, but I'm actually having a lot of fun with him. So it's pretty cool. Now, I would love to be able to show you guys World Ball GBR, with the character, but unfortunately with how my BlueStacks is working, it's just not going to really probably permit me to do that. Like you can see even there, it was lagging a little bit. But I essentially wanted to be able to show you guys the powerhouse that Thor can be in capable hands, because he is pretty strong. Do you need a T4 character? So this brings us to the other point, right? Do you need a T4 Thor? No, you don't. But this is the thing that I do like about the fact that Thor was there as a T4. We knew eventually the monetization of the T4 was going to come. I mean, it was there with the Tier 4 advancement pack, but nevertheless, you know what? We were hopeful, at least I was hopeful, because there's other places inside here where you basically got characters like Iron Man, you got characters like Thor. And if you were to look, for instance, at like, you know, this journey to Tier 3, right? Like you essentially were able to select the T3 character from a list of characters. And there are normal T3 selectors that come with some of the events throughout the years and you'll notice Thor and Iron Man are both inside there. So essentially you could skip the whole, you know, the whole level of trying to get that character up to T3. So it saves on resources, basically, is what I'm trying to say, right? Because like Iron Man being included as a Tier 4 amongst the first, and you know, when I think about the T4s, they should have did Captain America first, since he's the first Avenger, right? But anyways, so we get Thor and we get Iron Man, and basically in the beginning of your play as a new player, you could get to choose one of these characters as you're free to play, you know, your standard levels of Avengers pretty much, and you get to choose any one of these characters basically to come inside the game and basically get a T2 and a T3 with, and Thor and Iron Man are there, so it's a way to save on resources, especially since you're just working to getting towards that T4 anyways, which makes these characters really easy to obtain. That's the point that I'm trying to get at. That's the reason why I'm not so mad about the fact that, you know, Thor is there's a T4 that's in the game, and Thor and, you know, Cap and Thor and Iron Man and Moon Knight are amongst those. They're free-to-play players, they're free-to-play characters, and you have to pay attention to the fact that when we do receive T4s for other characters, like I've seen people talk about characters like Odin and Thanos, Silver Surfer getting T4s eventually down the road, and those characters will eclipse, you know, the characters the like of Iron Man and Thor, and there's a reason for that, because typically these characters are native tier 2 characters. They by that value alone, they have more power because they're going to cost more materials than you would for either an Iron Man or Thor, basically, to get them to T4 or to even T2 or to even T3. So there's a lot more cost in there. So players want to see a lot more reflective power in that. You know, it'd be the same thing, like for instance, like you're not so mad about getting a free character that basically can hit these marks, as opposed to if you, and I'll point out the one character that I kind of get pissed off all the time with, and that's Molecule Man, right? Because you basically had to buy the Epic Pass, and then you got Molecule Man, and Molecule Man was just terrible. I mean, that character's trash. I don't even know where he's at on my roster right now, but he was the perfect example of that, where it was like, well, we basically got a native character that's trash. He's trash at all levels. I don't know, in terms of native characters, he's probably the lowest ranking character of all native characters. If I had to do a tier list, like, I don't even use this character. He's just that bad. But that's essentially what you're looking at. So overall, I think that I'm going to be happy with the T4ing of Thor, and my reason for rolling T4 Thor is because I was trying to find ways to make Thor work regardless. Like, across the entire 7 years that I've been playing Marvel Future Fight, yes, I've been playing this game for a while, I've always consistently used Thor as either a world boss clear, whether he was a world boss clear, whether he was my my auto play character or whatever. I use Thor all the time. So in that regards, he's very helpful to me. So you choose based on that. The next universal character is probably going to come, down the line. I can't imagine I'm skipping on another tier 4 speed character, but we'll see what it is. I'll probably produce another video to talk about that specifically, but I just don't see another T4 character coming, that doesn't happen to become a speed character. The level of disrespect they did by skipping over them at this point is pretty funny and interesting. But I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, peace.